All right, good evening and welcome to the August 26, 2020 Conservation Commission meeting of the town of North Andover. Just a brief announcement regarding tonight's meeting format. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, MGL Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the North Andover Conservation Commission will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with the right and or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town's website at www.northandoverma.gov. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch the meeting or listen to it really may do so on their television by tuning to Comcast Channel 8 or Verizon Channel 26 or online at www.northandovercam.org. No in-person attendance of the members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the North Andover Town website an audio or recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of the proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. If the public would like to participate in public hearings, please email your question or comment prior or during the meeting to Amy Maxner, at her email at amaxner@northandoverma.gov. The question or comment will be read during the proceedings and responded to accordingly. So that's my spiel.
Okay. Couple things. This is Lou Napoli, the chairman. Jack, if it's okay with you, I'm going to move you where Deb's spot is, so we have two on each side of the chairman. Is that okay with you?
That is okay.
All right, very good. So we have, to start off, Joe Lynch. Are you present?
Present.
Al Manzi?
Present.
I'm Lou Napoli, chairman. I'm present. Jack Maben?
Present.
And Sean McDonough?
Present.
Okay, very good. We need an approval of minutes. We need a motion for March 12th, excuse me.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. First order of business is 242-1723, 64 and 87 Mollytown. We're not going to bother listening to it. We're going to just continue it to the next meeting.
Yeah, the commission received a request for continuance. We have an updated plan, but we're waiting on the affidavit from the new homeowner.
Motion to continue.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. Next one is 242-1751, 2017 Main Street. Salem Street. They requested withdrawal of this application.
Right.
Without prejudice.
Right. So the commission will recall that the approved plan required that a drainage trench be installed at the end section of the driveway. The builder did build it. The new homeowner filled it in with loam to plant. So that violation is not going to be fixed, or it's not the builder's ability to get back on the property to fix the violation. So he is withdrawing the request.
Just for a background check, the homeowner who filled in the swale is reluctant to fix it. So Amy and I talked about it today, and we should issue an enforcement order.
So do commission members have any questions?
I have a couple, and
I imagine the answers are a yes on both of them. The bond was posted by the builder, not the current homeowner, correct? So
Correct.
the motivation is for the builder to get his money back, but is finding that difficult through lack of cooperation by the homeowner. But nonetheless, the homeowner has a property that's encumbered by a perpetual order conditions, which he's in violation of. And that's why we're going to issue the enforcement order.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
The problem is, Joe, is to issue a COC, then we'll lose all our teeth. And to be truthful, we're only going by the builder's word that he didn't do it. It doesn't matter. But I mean, I'm really reluctant to release the bond until it gets straightened out. So we'll have the builder, pushing them and us pushing them.
That's exactly why I asked the questions for clarification. Is it seems like we don't need to motivate anybody; they're going to motivate themselves, and the enforcement action will do that.
Mr. Chairman, I agree with Joe. I think we need to take two actions. If I understand what's happening correctly, the first action we should take is to deny the request, and the second action we should take is to allow Amy to issue. And then we should validate an enforcement order requiring the restoration of the trench as designed. I wouldn't be in favor of taking any other action. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, follow up on that, Al. Joe again. We have a written request to withdraw the certificate of compliance request without prejudice. So we say deny. We're going to deny the withdrawal without prejudice and continue it, or?
Well, I don't see why we should do anything without prejudice. Or I think they have a request before us, and the property's not in compliance. And my understanding is no one is willing to bring it into compliance. The builder is saying he's finished with the client, and the client is not responsive. Do I understand this correctly?
Yes.
Yeah.
So if
so I think we need to deny the request to withdraw without prejudice. We need to do that first. We then need to deny the certificate of compliance request, and then ultimately issue the violation notice in enforcement.
Unless there's been some communication to the contrary by either the builder or the owner saying, hey, listen, sorry, we made a mistake, we'll fix it. Unless we have something like that in front of us, which I'm not hearing, it sounds more like there's a situation of just simple, sorry, we're just not doing it. When, non-compliance. If I'm wrong, I absolutely want to be corrected. But if it's a straight outright non-compliance, then there's no need to be. What are we beating around the bush for? Yeah,
exactly.
It is non-compliance. The homeowner will not let the contractor on the property. So, but it's still his ball. That's what I feel. And I think by issuing an enforcement order, and I think we should make it date sensitive. Is this tomorrow? I think that we should have them both held accountable, and then maybe it will get done.
So are you? What about my idea of denying the motion? Are you in favor of that, or are you saying just go with an EO and continue it?
No, I think. Well, he sent a letter of withdrawal without prejudice.
So they want a withdrawal, and I'm saying a letter of withdrawal under this situation, I don't think it's appropriate. I'm interested to hear what everybody else has to say, but my personal is I don't think it's appropriate if they want to withdraw under these conditions of where they're saying no, we're not doing it.
I agree with you, Al. It's not appropriate. He's looking for a mulligan on this, and he's not getting one.
So I'm interested in thank you, and I'm interested in seeing what anybody else feels, and then we can start the motion.
Joe, it seems like Joe and Al are together. Jack, how do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, eventually they're going to have to come and get a certificate of compliance. Whether they have to reapply or use this, or just continue this until they're ready to come back, is a small issue. I think the larger issue is the enforcement order, the installation of the project as authorized by the notice of intent. So, I mean, I don't feel strongly either way on, the withdrawing of the the request for certificate of compliance. I think the important thing is that we, for certain, get this enforcement order out there so that the homeowner is compelled to comply with the notice of intent.
Okay, thank you, Jack. Sean?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
It's always a good question these days on these calls. So has anybody from our commission reached out to the owner of the property?
I've had email correspondence with the owner, and, you know, basically their message to me is that they were unaware of the order of conditions, and they don't have the money to remove the dirt and fix the trench. And so, and I was under the impression that, you know, the builder and the homeowner would work together to get it fixed, but I don't think that relationship is there anymore. So I explained,
Right.
I forwarded the homeowner a copy of the order and the approved plan, and I explained that, you know, technically that because it's recorded against the deed to this property, that it runs with the property, and whoever owns the property is ultimately responsible.
Okay. Now, if we do an enforcement order, that's going to go to the owner of the property, not the builder, correct?
I think at this point, yes, because they hold the title to the property and are responsible ultimately.
And they're the applicants, right, Jamie? Are they the applicants on the notice of intent?
No.
No, they're not.
Oh.
Yeah, and that's what's significant here. So you know, as far as what you do with this builder's certificate of compliance request, I'd say continue it, but I would also suggest getting an enforcement order so we get the owner of the property in front of us and deal with the person that we really have to deal with.
You know what? Now that I know so the builder was the applicant. Is that what I'm hearing?
Hold on, let me just.
Yes. Yes.
If the builder's the applicant, we should name them both on the EO.
No, the applicant was Cleon Richards.
So that's the owner. That's the owner of the property.
No, the applicant, when they first A&R'd this property, the owners were the Richards Revocable Trust. They sold it to the builder. Right, so the Richards are gone, and then now we have a builder, and now the builder sold it to the current homeowners.
Is the current owner related to the original applicants?
No. Nope.
No.
You know, I mean, this is a lawyer question. Sean, name them all.
Yeah, I would. As far as an order, yes, I would put them all on an order and try to get them all in front of us and have it hammered out in front of us, so that we know something gets done. As far as what you do with, you know, a builder that seems cooperative right now, you know, I don't know if we want to prejudice the only person that seems to be cooperating with us, and the only reason why they're cooperating is because they're the ones that put up the money. So I'll leave it up to you guys what you want to do with that. But I do think the key is to get, you know, some kind of enforcement order in place that will compel the current owner to come in front of us, because in the end, that's the one that's going to be rectifying the situation on the ground.
Well, I mean, it sounds like everybody's going to be pointing in a different direction. My thought was to name them all. As far as as far as the request to withdraw, you know, that's a courtesy. If you allow him to withdraw, you're doing him a courtesy. If you think he's worthy of the courtesy, then I won't object. My initial response to this kind of stuff is, you know, deny everything and drag him in with an EO. The best way to get compliance here is with money, and that's what always worked in the past. So I will defer to whatever you all want to do.
Well, my input is that I think we should deny his request. I think we should continue until the next meeting and do the enforcement order to the homeowner effective tomorrow, and fine him starting tomorrow. And I would be willing to bet by the next meeting they'll all be there.
Well, I'd give them a little chance before we started finding them.
We on the enforcement order, we would normally give them a date certain to comply. We would give them, we would say, you must comply by,
Right.
and give them a certain date and tell them what they have to do. So,
Right.
so why don't you tell us what language you want on there, Amy? What do you want it to say? And when do you want them to comply by? What's the date?
So, returning the stone trench to compliance as specified on the approved plan, and the work restoring the trench must be completed no later than September 30th, and a fine of $100 a day for every day thereafter that the enforcement orders and the trench is not restored.
I will move that.
Looking for
Second.
Before let's talk about the parties, because I want to understand something that's not clear to me just now. When you had the conversation with the homeowner, the conversation went to, we don't have the money to do it. Did they ever deny modifying the conditions out there? Or did they so much as admit that they did it?
No, they said they spent $1,000 to put the loam in there and to plant, and now they don't have the money to take it back out.
I think the party should just be the homeowner. It's in the title. They admit it as much. I don't. The developer is going to cooperate just to get his money back, but I think it's the homeowner who's in violation here.
Yeah, I agree, but I agree, but it's still the builder's responsibility to be built by the way it was designed, and it really does need that swale along the driveway because that is a hilly lot, and the river's across the street.
Correct.
So I think we should hold the developer in the
homeowner
until the next meeting. Yeah, I think we should. I think maybe he might still be able to put some pressure on these people, and that's why I don't think I think we should do an enforcement order before September 30th, or if you want to do September 30th as they got to comply. I think we should start the fines before then.
Well, we have to give them a chance to comply, Lou. We have to give them an opportunity to get into compliance.
Well, Al, Amy's already gone out there, and they said we're not going to do it because we didn't get the money. So
Yeah.
they've denied already that they're not going to do it.
Yeah, but in order to make the enforcement order valid, you have to give them a date certain in writing, and then institute the fines as of that date certain. That's my memory on how this thing works.
Okay. Well,
I went to one of those workshops a long time ago at MACC conference, and that's my memory of how to do it.
Okay. Well, I think then we should do sooner than September 30th.
Okay.
Because I have a feeling that they're not going to do it.
What's the first meeting in September? What's the date of the first meeting in September?
It's only 2 weeks away. So then we have the 23rd would be that next meeting after that.
So that sounds like a good date.
Or at least have a plan in place. If they don't get it done by September with the 15th or whatever, then we can, if they're making an effort, we can help them. But if they're not going to make an effort, just draw a line in the sand. We can do that too.
Yeah, that was my thinking also.
Right.
So do you want?
Yeah, you had a motion, but it hadn't been seconded yet.
Right, I think we're still in discussion.
On discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
So,
we haven't voted anything yet.
So what I can do is I can withdraw my motion, and we'll structure a new one.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Go ahead, Al.
Well, so the first thing I guess would be the issuance of I want to go with the enforcement order first. So I would move that we issue the enforcement order as discussed, and with a compliance date of the second meeting in September.
Okay, and we are issuing that enforcement order to the homeowner only?
Yeah.
We put it. It sounded like that was the consensus. Probably you should check again, Lou, see what the consensus is on that, and we get this done quick.
Okay. Joe?
I think we're stronger going to the homeowner, but I would vote either way.
Okay. Jack?
Well, I guess I'd like to know who was the order of conditions issued to. Was it the builder or the homeowner that's refusing to have the work done?
So there was the Cleon Richards property that got subdivided. So he was the original applicant. Then he sold the lot that he shaved off from his property to the builder. The builder built the house and then sold it to the current homeowner.
And who's the current homeowner?
I'd have to look
I'm
up.
sorry, guys. We in all honesty, we should just bring in the current homeowner and the builder and tell the builder the only reason why your name's on this is because we felt to have both of you there.
Okay.
Sounds like a good idea. The current homeowner and the builder, I would vote with that.
And the builder posted the bond, so he's got a
Right.
fiduciary interest in this.
Right.
Definitely.
So Amy can call him up and tell him, listen, like the only reason why you're on there. If you think Amy had more power, if only the homeowner was there, then let us know that and tell the builder to be present anyway, so he or she can articulate, the position.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if the homeowner let the builder come back and fix it. I think he would.
Let's issue it to both parties then, the builder and homeowner.
I think that's my opinion is give it to both parties. Don't exclude anyone. Let's not screw around with this.
Well, we are excluding one, and that's the original applicant. And if that person's out of the picture, I don't know what value they would add to this.
No,
Okay.
I agree.
All right,
Sorry,
we have a motion.
provided that
We have a motion. We need a second.
Issue an
Second.
enforcement order with, do we have fines?
Well, the part of the motion was to issue the enforcement order with a compliance date of the second meeting in September,
Yep.
and if there is no compliance by that date, or if there's no extension by this commission, then I would then want fines to start on the following business day.
Okay.
And I second that motion.
Yep, and I think that is the only way that we're going to get a reaction from the owner. So the earliest time period, the better.
All right. So,
Like Al always said, money brings compliance.
right.
It always has.
Are we all in favor of that motion?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So now we have a withdrawal request. Are we going to deny the withdrawal?
Yes.
I would move to deny the request to withdraw.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Hey,
Aye.
just a quick question. Question on that. So if we deny the request to withdraw, then it has to be ruled on, and our next motion is going to be to deny it or continue it.
Right.
So we have to continue it.
And that's what I would think, because there's no reason not to have this motion in front of us. We want this fixed and rectified and complied with.
So let's continue the motion. Let's continue the request to the same date that the enforcement order has to come in, which is the second meeting in September. Let's bring them both back in on the same day.
Exactly.
All right.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, and that's unanimous.
So just so I'm clear, it was a motion to deny the request for withdrawal.
That was withdrawn. I withdrew that motion.
Yes.
Okay.
And then we have a motion to continue.
Well, I
Right.
thought it was part and parcel that you guys voted to deny the withdrawal request and then continue the request for a certificate of compliance to the 9/23 meeting.
And we voted for a compliance date on the enforcement order to be the same day. They're all coming in the second meeting.
Right.
Yeah, but Amy, if I heard what you just said is, do you think the motion was to deny the request for withdrawal by the applicant?
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
I think Al took that off the table, and I think we're going to simply continue the request to that same meeting.
Okay.
Second, if that's a motion to clarify, second.
All right. Okay.
All right. Okay. We got that one straightened out, kind of.
That was the easy one.
Next one is 242-1761, 0 Riverview Street, GLSD.
Alrighty. The commission will recall that The order was issued in 2019 and it governed the installation of a 3,000 kilowatt diesel fuel standby generator and associated concrete foundation and enclosure, associated perimeter crushed stone, infiltration trench, and fencing. The project includes the addition of a 16 by 12 paved spill containment area at the fuel spill location that will be sloped toward a catch basin with a 2-foot sump where stormwater and will be collected and then rerouted to the existing stormwater collection system. But this catch basin was to receive a gate valve that would be closed and shut off to stormwater during filling events. Work was within the 200-foot riverfront area and bordering land subject to flooding. The work is completed. We have an as-built plan and a letter of certification from the project engineer. The town engineer expressed concerns over having a dual stormwater collection catch basin that would also be open to any fuel spill. So the connection to the stormwater system was removed from the project. So simply we have now a catch basin that connects to the spill containment tank subsurface. And just so you're aware that there were no catch basins in this area that handled stormwater. So there's no, impact to stormwater management because of this. Compensatory flood storage was constructed per the plan as confirmed by the project engineer. I visited the site and it's, totally stable. Ben and I had visited, through construction and there were no problems. So I would recommend issuing a certificate of compliance.
Okay, thank you, Amy. Joe?
So I understand the premise that they don't want a threat of contamination by a direct connection to the stormwater pipe system, but nonetheless, they're capturing the containment in the overflow area and somehow managing the discharge from that, in an unpolluted way just to the ground, and then during pollution they would handle it as a release and pump it away into trucks. Is that what I understand? And if were they required to do an O&M plan, and if they were, has that been updated?
No, they weren't required to do an O&M plan.
Okay, I'm all set.
Al?
I don't think I have any questions.
No. I am in agreement with the town manager only because it's only a 3,000 gallon tank and they have a 3,500 gallon containment area. So it makes sense to try and keep it away from the stormwater as much as we can. So I'm in favor of what they did. That's all I have to say. Jack?
Just so I understand, the normal condition is the valve is open, so any stormwater that collects in a containment area drains to just, like a lawn area or some down to the ground. And then if there were a spill, that valve would be closed, or the spill would be diverted to the 3,500 gallon containment tank. Is that how it's supposed to work?
Well, originally it was a catch basin that connected to both the spill containment tank and the municipal stormwater system with a valve that closed it off during fuel filling events so that it would get closed off to the stormwater system. John Borghese had reservations about that because what happens if someone forgot to close the valve? So they just removed connection to the stormwater.
So when stormwater goes into that, containment area, where does it go under normal circumstances?
It would probably just infiltrate around into the ground, but it is covered. The catch basin is covered currently.
Okay, all right.
So, yeah.
Okay, all right. No more questions.
Okay. Sean?
No questions.
Okay. Motion to accept?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? And that's unanimous. Thank you. Next one.
Okay.
Small project. NACC 259-16 Woodbury Lane.
Alrighty, so this project is coming in under category A, and it's demolition of an existing deck and stairs that is currently 58 feet from the wetland. The proposal is to construct a new deck and stairs that will be 56 feet from the wetland. 2 new helical piles will be installed to support the outer perimeter of the deck, and then the deck at the house side would be connected to the house. A new small concrete pad at the base of the stairs is proposed. The new deck is 168 square feet. The new stairs and pad are 36 square feet for a grand total of 204 square feet. All demolition materials will be placed in a dumpster, and no vegetation removal is required for building the new deck. The applicant provided a really nice, thorough narrative that I forwarded you. Ben visited the site and confirmed, and so I would recommend approving the project, or finding that the project qualifies as a small project permit category A, and then approve the project with conditions that a post-construction site inspection with the Conservation Department staff to verify compliance, and that any other work, including modification to any walkways in the buffer zone, should be reviewed separately with the commission.
Thank you. Joe, any questions?
No questions.
Al, any questions?
No questions.
Amy, I just have one thing. If you could email the members any information on helical piles, I don't really know. I don't really think that some of them know what they are. And I've seen a number of plans. I saw another guy today wanting to put them in. They're hard set up, but I mean, I think it would be more comforting for the commissioners to understand what they are. So if we get some literature on them,
I will do that.
and you can email to the members, that would be very helpful.
Okay.
Okay? I have no questions.
Okay.
None for me.
Jack?
No questions.
Sean?
So Amy, you said it's going from 58 feet to 56 feet, so it's a little bit different in size or configuration, I'm guessing. So I think A is in-kind replacement, and I think this is completely approvable under a small project, but maybe it should fall under that other category of K or L or whatever it's migrated to.
Okay, you're right. Well, let's see. I gotta look at that form.
Yeah, it's an L.
It wouldn't be A? Open slotted decks?
But I don't know. It sounds like it's getting 2 feet closer to the wetland. And I think A, and I don't have it in front of me, is in-kind replacement.
Okay, gotcha. B is in-kind replacement of lawfully existing decks regardless of size.
Oh yeah, that's right. A is a new deck, Sean, that has to be below the 300 square foot threshold, but it can be no closer than 50 feet, which this would be an
Okay. Then I'm corrected. I'm sorry. I got my A's and B's mixed up. So I agree. It's an A.
Okay. All right, John, seeing you're last one to speak, why don't you make a motion?
So I move that we accept this as an A, and then I'm going to second follow up my motion with another motion that it be with post-construction inspection and any other conditions that you think should be out there, Amy?
Yeah. Yep.
A. The second vote.
Any other work comes before us.
Okay, we have a
Okay,
motion.
and if it comes up
Second.
concerning paths and walkways, will become before us separately.
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? And that's unanimous. And did you merge both motions, Sean, for the small project?
That was my intention.
Okay.
Yeah, I seconded both in the order that Sean moved them.
I voted
Okay.
on both. I voted on both, Mr. Chairman.
All right, so that's closed. Next one is NACC number 260, 222 Bradford Street.
All right, so this is a project to demolish existing deck and stairs and build a slightly smaller deck and stairs to be with the grand total of square footage to be 289.6 square feet. The new deck will be about 84 feet from the wetland, and there'll be 3 new support piles that will be either hand dug or will be tech piles, which I believe is the helical type, and positioned further away from the footprint of the existing septic system. So basically we have the house, the deck, and the septic system, and then the wetland. So they're just moving the footings to get out of the sand footprint of the septic system. And let's see. So I would recommend that this qualifies as a small project category A and approve as proposed with the following conditions: post-construction inspection with Conservation Department, and demolition materials to be contained outside of the 100-foot buffer zone.
Very good, Amy. Joe?
I have no problem with the small project or the proposal. I just want to make sure that somewhere, if we have the ability to put it stated in there, that we're not making any representation as to impact to the septic system, that would be a Board of Health matter under its own. Seems like this deck is awfully close to that system and that reserve system. Have they already been to Board of Health?
It will be reviewed, if not already reviewed, by the Board of Health through our viewpoint online permitting process. So they will see this.
So in a normal order of conditions, we have the ability to, in fact, I think it's a boilerplate to state that, we're not granting any other permits, they need to be granted separately, considered and granted separately. But I don't think we have that luxury in the small project, but I just don't want anybody to be construed to say the conservation gave them permission to put this so close to the septic system.
No, it will absolutely come before the Board of Health, the Health Department. They will see this, so.
Okay, I'm all set with that then.
Yeah.
Any questions?
No other questions from my part.
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so I just got an email from the contractor, and this design has been approved by the Board of Health.
Very good.
Excellent.
Yep.
Jack, you have any questions?
I have no questions.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes, Sean? Yes.
Yep. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
We hear you, Sean.
Yep.
Yep.
You
You
guys
have any
get cut out for
questions?
you guys get cut out for a second. No questions here.
Would you like to make a motion?
Sure. I move that we approve it as an A with post-construction inspection. And what was the other aspect you had there, Amy?
Of demolition materials outside of the buffer zone.
Well said. Thank you.
Okay.
Second.
All right. We're going to notice of intent.
So is that all in favor? Do we have it all
Yes,
in favor?
I'm sorry. I thought we're all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? That's unanimous. Sorry, Amy.
That's okay.
I'm getting ahead of myself. Next one, I'm going to have to accuse myself on the next one, which is 242, 1787, 135 North Ramp Road. It's all yours, Mr. Vice Chairman Al.
I'm here. I'll be happy to take care of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Amy, I'd like you just to give everybody a brief overview real quick on what we've done up to date.
Okay, so since the last hearing, which was June 10th, Al and Sean performed a site inspection on July 13th. I conducted a 3-hour bushwhack site visit with the project wetland consultant on July 29th and walked the entire wetland line. During that site inspection, I requested a number of flags to be relocated up gradient. Flag adjustments will be noted on the plan. At my request, a few additional soil samples were taken up gradient of the wetland edge closest to the edge of the glass fill, so to the toe slope of glass fill. Based on those soil samples, I am comfortable that the glass has not encroached into wetland itself based on soil characteristics. They were still bright and upland, but obviously it's pretty close to the edge of the wetland. We had a pretty good rainfall before my site visit, and we had noticed a surface drainage swale. It was pretty obvious that there was some flow that happened, and we couldn't quite chase it all the way up. It was just way too thick and brambly, but it discharged next to wetland flag A4 and A5. And I had asked that to be noted in the plan, and I think that's forthcoming.
Yep.
The consultant and I have continued to scour our respective files for past correspondence, and I think we're done with that, and I'm in the midst of preparing a chronology for that. I just haven't had time to finalize it. And then the other major thing that we've been working on is speaking with our GEI third-party consultant to formulate a logical approach to how to figure out whether there's been impact to water quality in the wetlands, and to help us understand what the proposed stormwater management facilities will be infiltrating through. So in cooperation with GEI, we have the following steps that seem to make sense. First, that we would ask the applicant for any and all documentation that shows regulatory permits allowing the use, other state permits or notices of noncompliance, bills of lading or evidence of the character and origin of the material that has been brought to the site, any geotechnical evaluations that the applicant may have done, or plans relative to that. This would assist the commission in understanding what the nature of the material is and its impact to water quality on the wetlands. Our third-party peer review would assist in reviewing those documents. Absent any of this documentation or inadequate documentation, the commission would perhaps think about ordering a series of test pits. And the test pit plan and proposal could be submitted by the applicant to be reviewed by GEI. GEI would be on site to witness test pits and provide an opinion and recommendations for the next steps based on their findings. So it's really trying to just investigate what's there and figure out, the test pits would reveal that. And then from there, based on those findings, then we'd have to formulate the next steps, because we just don't know right now. So
that pretty much sums it up. And Amy, let me just add just real quick. The night that Sean and I did the site walk, one of the things that struck me anyway, I'm not going to speak for Sean. One of the things that struck me was the amount of material that's on the site. The sheer amount, it was almost unimaginable how many hundreds of tons of material is there. At one point, we were standing on what was arguably probably the beginning of the pile 30 years ago, and we were up over 100 feet looking down to the bottom of the pile. And you know, when you say you were going through some bramble, absolutely no question. But the altitude and height of the pile now literally put it on an even plane with the airport, which is right next door. And to compound the volume of material and the number of years that it's been there, possibly 30 or more, or it's been added to over that period, we really don't have any records of anything. We have some very loose information, some observations, but we really don't have anything. So when Amy was able to get together with Mike Saboulis and go out there, one of the things that I asked for, I asked Amy to ask Michael, was could he act in the capacity you know, that we need as an LSP, because that's really where this site is. And his answer was in the affirmative, and he submitted a 4-page proposal, which we can discuss in a few minutes. Or I'm sorry, a 3-page proposal. But anyway, I don't want to speak for Sean. I know that he has his views of what we saw. And Sean, if you want to just bring everybody up to speed on your observations.
Sure. So I had heard rumor and innuendo about the mountain that was on this site, and until I was there, and I was on top of it for a while, until I got to an edge of the mountain, I didn't realize that I was on top of the mountain. And I don't know what records there are as to what is under, what's underneath what is now like a grass or gravel on top of it. But I think I don't know if there are records that we can rely on to tell us what's underneath there. I know that for a lot of years, the site had been used to, get pulverized glass and put it there, and they end up moving it around. But I'll tell you, I would hate to rely on just, rumor and innuendo as to what's underneath there. I kind of look at it it's funny, as I drove away, I looked across the street and I saw a landfill on the other side of Holt Road. And I'm like, that's really what this is. This is a landfill.
Yep.
That nobody has taken a look at or had a chance to see what was going into it. So that's my perspective as I look at this. And I know it came up before. I haven't been great at going out to site visits, but I certainly chose the right one to go to in this category. And I'd recommend everybody go out there and see it with their own eyes.
I share your recommendation. I would hope that if anybody on the commission can go to a site visit, this would be the one to go to, because it's going to take a while for all the investigation to be completed. Amy's already started it, and the applicants have already started to try to comply and give us what they have. But this is, the best information we have right now is this pile is the result of municipal recycling that has been collected over the past 30 odd years and basically pulverized, for lack of a better term, and stored on site in the hope that it would be able to be moved somewhere else, and that apparently hasn't happened. And the reason why it hasn't happened doesn't matter. What matters is that it's there, and it's enormous, and it's directly adjacent to a substantial wetland system, and I think we need to know everything. This is something that I don't think can be brushed aside lightly. So if you guys haven't read the proposal from Mike Saboulis, I would hope that you would, because one of the things that we need to do tonight is we need to move and authorize the escrow to be collected based on page 3 of the proposal, so that the services of GEI and Mr. Saboulis can commence. That's what's needed. We need to do more investigation, and that's a big part of the investigation. So with that, I would leave it open to questions from the commission, and we'll go from there.
So just so you know, we have applicant representatives, and they probably would like to address the commission too. So
if a representative wants to address, I would say yes. Go ahead.
Hi. David Cowell on behalf of the applicants. I apologize that I was late joining our hearing. I hopped on the hearing around the time that Amy was giving a debrief of previous things that we had done to date. I joined as she was debriefing us on prior site visits that were held out there. Yeah, I think that we've based on the site visits and what we've done to date, we're certainly amenable to peer review. We understand the necessity for that. However, we received an 18-page proposal today that we haven't had significant time to review. We're certainly aligned with your efforts, but I don't think that we would acquiesce tonight until we've had time to fully vet the proposal from GEI and understand the contents, the terms and conditions. So if that's something we could possibly coordinate, I'd request that we do that. Is that all right?
Well, let me just say that the ability to procure third-party services is authorized under the bylaw, and the language on it is pretty clear that we have the authority to move and authorize the procurement of those services to assist us in completing a project, and the cost is to be borne by the applicant per the bylaw. So while I appreciate your opinion and your thought on this, we don't want to spend a lot of time thinking about it. We want to get this thing moving. It's been quite a long time. So just bear that in mind as this progresses over the next few minutes. Okay.
I'll keep that in mind. But again, I received the proposal at 1 o'clock today. We haven't had appropriate time to vet this prior to tonight's hearing. It's an 18-page document. At first glance, there's no cost estimate. This looks like time and materials. And yeah, it's, you know, I don't think it's unreasonable that we have time to vet the proposal before acquiescing to it. We understand your right to mandate a third-party peer review. That's well understood. But until we have time to vet the contents, we received it at 1 p.m. today. We haven't had time to look at it.
Yep.
Well, let me go to the commissioners. Do you want to add any more, or are you good for the moment?
No, I think peer review is really the main outstanding item that I think will keep us moving forward. I think that's what we.
Let me see what the commissioners have to say. See if they have any questions for you, Mr. Lynch.
Sure.
Yeah, this is right up there with one of the biggest ones we'll probably ever really be focusing on with a very broad environmental impact potential, far beyond simply the wetlands that are our principal concerns, but what this material is and how it affects those resource areas is just as important. My recollection, and correct me if I'm wrong, the motivation at this time, after all of these years have gone by, the motivation is this operational entity finds itself in a condition where DEP is paying particular attention to them, and they themselves have ordered this facility to do certain things, part of which requires them to come to conservation. Is that correct?
Yes.
My understanding that is correct, Joe.
So, you know, this has been a long-running, worsening condition, perhaps for some say as many as 3 decades. But the reality here is that there seems to be a lack of clarity, and I know it's an ominous task to dive through the administrative files at conservation. Most of our files are pretty rock solid, even if some of the decisions that were reached were bad. I'm not suggesting that any decisions were reached on this. For most of those 30 years, most of us have sat on this commission, and I don't remember an application for this land. And to see this continued activity ad nauseum, year after year after year after year, each one of those activities is a violation unto itself. And I think we've got a real concern for what is out there ever being permitted by this commission ever. And I think until we get our handle on that, any sort of proposal to start doing third-party review is a start to at least begin to understand what the magnitude might be as a starting point. But I think it has the potential to grow much, much larger. And so to act on anything tonight would be incremental at best. preliminary, perhaps, and maybe in the long run, not even close to what it is we're looking for. So I think for the sake that this has been something that's going on for at least 1 decade, and it filed for us in June with a parallel activity from DEP looming, I think it would be hasty for us to act tonight on a proposal, because I think there's a heck of a lot more we need to know before we really hone in on what that scope looks like. And contrary to what the applicant's representative might think what might already be too broad a time and material proposal, the reality is it's because it's all we know. It might be time and material on a broad spectrum of things we're asking GEI to review for us. And those are more comments than questions, but I don't think we're prepared to do anything tonight. At least I'm not.
Well, if you look at, let me just quickly respond to one thing. If you look at the proposal that GEI, if you look at it, task number 1 under the scope of services is document review, site visit, and letter report. That is key to getting this thing off the ground. That's part of why we need GEI in there to assist our staff in document review, site visit, and letter report, just to find out where we are. We can't even order the next round of things that we want done until we've completed the very first issue of task number 1. If task number 1 isn't started and completed, we don't know where we're going from there. And that's a minimal thing under that proposal for services. And it's a key thing under the proposal for services. Nobody, because Joe, as you point out, 3 decades and maybe more, and we don't know, should we put test wells? Should we auger? Should we do this? We don't know yet. We don't even know what the impacts are to the groundwater. We don't know anything. Well, and we just know how much we have there.
Yeah, and I'm almost making my statements as rebuttal to the applicant's representative that they may be looking at this as a perspective that what they're about to review and read is comprehensive, and they're going to start formulating a budget in their mind. To which I'm going to say is, no, this is only the beginning of this research and this reporting. It's far from defined yet. I think it's going to be more.
It could be, but if on page 3 he has a project cost proposed at the top of page 3, and a total project budget authorization number that, in my opinion, we should order. We should order it to get things started. That's just my opinion, but I just wanted to throw that in there, and please continue.
Okay, understood. I too have not dived into this proposal, but I want to be clear that it is only the start. It's not. I don't think it's intended to be comprehensive until we know more.
Okay.
I would almost say these are preliminary services.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Let me go down the table. Who's next? Jack or Sean?
Jack.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I think the commission seems to be in pretty solid agreement that more information is needed. And as Al stated, engaging third-party review is oftentimes part of that on potentially complex projects like this. It sounded to me when the applicant spoke that he too was in favor of gathering more information. So I guess let me ask you, sir, is that a correct observation on my part?
David?
Oh, I'm sorry. What was the question?
Oh, the question is, are you in favor of further information gathering by a third party?
Yeah, no, we're absolutely, yeah, we've said that all along, that we're not opposed to third-party review. It's really
okay.
In the scope in the proposal.
Okay, so we have one proposal in front of us. What path would you suggest we take?
I suggest that we take opportunity to review. We had We submitted revised site plans today around 1 p.m., midday. Amy said that due to the late submittal that you guys wouldn't review the plan revisions. And similarly, we received a 18-page proposal for peer review that we haven't had time to review. We're asking for time to review it. That's not unreasonable.
And I would agree with that. And if it's, even if we have to take maybe proposals piecemeal, we start with task one, once they get a chance to review, if we ask GEI to narrow the scope to just task one, we start there. That might bear out a lot more information, but I think it is fair to allow them to review with the understanding that, it's something that the commission will do regardless.
So Amy, I apologize for interrupting. Amy, on the night that Sean and I visited the site, that was when did we go? June?
July 13th, I think.
July 13th. When we were there that night, we already had put the applicant on notice to start collecting data and forwarding it to you to try to learn the history of what's been going on. We already made that request. We already recognized that we needed records and documents and letters to the extent that they exist.
Right.
Okay.
And,
and we've definitely been working on it, but I can tell you that it is not bills of lading. It's not certificates of origin. It's not characterization of materials. It's communication between Hancock and staff at the conservation department about, here's the edge of the buffer zone and we're not going to be in the buffer zone and things like that. So it's not material that GEI is recommending that we secure.
Sure.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay. All right. Jack, do you have any other?
So it sounds like it's not a question of whether we have third-party review and continue our document and information gathering. It's how we do it. Do we accept GEI's or proposal tonight, or do we give them a chance to review it, and then we don't know where it's going to go?
I mean, well, we could always give them till the next meeting to read the proposal. I don't think it's going to change anything, but certainly we can do that in the interest of fairness. But I don't think it's a surprise. I think we already made the request, and I think we've already done that. But certainly, I would never object to giving somebody time to review something.
Yeah, fair enough. I guess I'm all set with questions.
Okay, thank you, Sean.
Thanks, Al. And what's the applicant's representative's name that's on the phone?
David Powell.
I'm sorry, for some reason you're really muffled. I couldn't hear your first name.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know what to do about that.
Yeah, that's okay. What's your name?
My name is David.
David. Okay. So David, I'm looking at the proposal. The proposal's 2.5 pages with like a signature line at the bottom and a caption at the top that takes up half a page. So literally, we're talking 2 pages double spaced of information. So when you say 18 pages, you're talking about, their standard GEI standard service agreement that's 11 pages long or 12 pages long. It's very simple what they're looking for. I mean, literally, I looked it over while this call's been going on again. It's, so I say there's no reason, unless you have a reason not to go forward with this other than you want to look at it further. So I guess I'll back up. So take a look at it, and I'll sit here on the phone and tell me what you disagree with.
I'm not. Listen, guys. We accept peer review. We understand that you guys are going to put us through peer review. We accept that. Rob, the applicant, just called me on the phone and said acquiesce to peer review. But again, I haven't had time to look at this. It's
2.5 pages long. I'll sit here for 10 minutes while you look at it if you want. I understand you might be able to, maybe you haven't corresponded with your client about it, but it's not, don't represent it to me. Don't represent it to us as an 18-page proposal, and it's 2.5 pages long.
Why?
Sean, I have a solution here that I'm gonna suggest. I'm gonna suggest that we table this till the end of the meeting, giving the applicant a chance to review the documents, and then we'll put this back on at the very end of the meeting. It'll be the last thing we do. We'll table it till then. How does everybody feel about it?
And Al, that's fine, but I just don't appreciate being told something that's 18 pages long. It's 2.5 pages long. I mean, if this is how this project is going to go forward, it's not helpful.
And I couldn't agree with you more.
I would suggest that Dave tell us next time that he has a chance to really sit down with his client and go over it. Don't tell me it's 18 pages long. So with that, I'll acquiesce my chair here on that.
All right, so members of the commission, because this appears to be a protracted discussion, which I try to avoid on these meetings, I'm going to ask for a motion to table this to the last item agenda tonight at this meeting, and we'll return to it, and that'll give the applicant a chance to go over the documents, and then when we get back on, hopefully we'll have more. It'll be more clear.
Guys, if I could interrupt for a moment.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. I may be speaking out of line. The applicant just said acquiesce. Just whatever you want. Go ahead.
Okay, very good. So then, thank you, and thank you to the applicant. So, members of the commission, I suggest that based on on page 3, at the top of page 3 of the proposal, project costs, I suggest and recommend that the commission vote to authorize an escrow account to commence the use of the services of GEI to assist our administrator in this background investigation on the project.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? And it's unanimous. Amy, the escrow account is established pursuant to the bylaw.
Okay. So now we'll continue.
So that means that at your earliest convenience, the documentation should be submitted to the applicant to establish the account and procure the services of GEI to conduct the background and the scope of services as described in the letter.
Okay. Yep.
I also strongly and I make myself available if more site visits are needed, or any more anything that has to be done, I will avail myself absolutely at any time. And Joe and Jack, if there's any way you can find the time to go out there or meet one of us and go out there, you got to see it.
Yeah, I'll take you up on that, Al. We'll talk offline, but I want to put this in perspective. I've seen aerial photography of the area, and I got a good feeling for the history of how it's gotten to the point it has. But to be there and get the full topographic relief, it's important.
I just feel strongly about that, but yes, I appreciate that, and I know you guys will do it. Amy, is there anything else you want to accomplish on this at this time?
No.
Okay, so since the motion has prevailed to procure the services, Amy, what you want to continue it 2 weeks for an update?
Yeah.
Okay. September what?
9th.
September 9th. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous. Continued to the first meeting in September. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If we have Lou back online, I will hand the gavel back to Lou.
Are you there?
Might have to send him a text.
Okay, I'm going to do that.
They're going to get that. They were going to get it anyway. Do you know what I'm saying? It got to the point. Yeah.
Hello?
Oh,
Hi there, Lou. I just want to let you know that You're back in charge, okay? The gavel is on your desk.
Okay, I didn't mute it properly, because I did lose you at some point, but it didn't matter.
All right, it's important that you're back. So we should be, the next item is 242-1793.
Yes, 101 Foster Street.
Okay.
You there?
Yep.
I don't think they're even.
Yeah, hold on, Lou, 1 second. Amy, if there's some way, I think that the other applicant is still on the line,
Yeah.
and we can hear them talking in the background. We gotta eliminate them.
Mr. DeRosa, could you mute yourself or leave the meeting if you're done, please? Because I think the background noise is coming from you. Yep. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Very good. Thank you.
Alrighty, so 101 Foster Street is a continued public hearing for a notice of intent for a septic system replacement. At the last meeting, we asked for plan updates that showed a construction access and a stockpiling area, and to make sure that the Board of Health has signed off on the plan. We have received the updated plan and the approval from the Board of Health, and so I recommend closing the hearing and issuing an order of conditions, which I've drafted for you this evening.
Thank you. Oh, any questions?
No questions.
Al?
I have no questions.
Jack?
I have no questions either.
Sean?
No questions.
Motion?
To close.
I move that we close and issue a decision within 21 days.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous. Thank you. The next one is 242-1792. Before we start, because this application is very large, is the commission had a chance to review it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Me
Okay.
too,
Good.
yes.
Good. Then we can move forward. Okay. Go ahead, Amy. It's all yours.
Alrighty. So the commission opened the hearing but did not discuss it at the last meeting, and I provided paper copies of the plans and narrative to you. In the meantime, I inspected the bordering vegetated wetland and the isolated wetland lines and found them to be accurate. Wetland scientists relied heavily on the soils for this delineation, considering the site's history with farming. Let's see, we inspected an area of historic composting. It's a large mound of landscape and organic debris that is up against the bordering vegetated wetland at wetland flag A17. And on the plan, you'll see that there's a contour line of 208 that kind of outlines the general footprint of that. So this becomes pretty visible once the foliage is down, and the applicant mentioned a willingness to remove it, and we did get revised plans to that effect, which I forwarded. Let's see. The proposed gravel access off of the Andover Street will require grading, and I asked for some more clarity on that front, and we received a plan that shows that. Let's see. The restoration work and pond expansion is proposed within the isolated vegetated wetland. It's a multifaceted proposal. Waivers are requested. The trustees they're aiming to enhance this isolated wetland that's been subject to mowing for years, and until recently it wasn't really recognized as a wetland until it was delineated. So it hasn't been functioning much for quite some time. Let's see. Sort of a nutshell right now, and we can. I have applicant reps with us this evening, so I would let you do what you want to do at this point, whether it's ask me questions or comments, whatever.
Okay, I would like to get some input from the commissioners first. Then we can hear from the consultants. And then, do we have any butters online?
No,
Amy?
it would be just be through email. So
Okay,
I'll keep
all
checking.
right, very good. Joe, do you have any outstanding questions before we talk to the applicant?
Well, just by way of efficiently running the meeting, and I know you'll do that, but I do know that we've seen some butter concerns raising issues that are outside the jurisdiction of Concom with regards to our protection of resource areas and things like the use of the building and rental for certain purposes and whatnot lie outside of our purview. So I don't think we ought to, take any consideration for any comment to that effect. We should be looking specifically at the work proposed and the impact of the resource areas and that alone. So I want to make sure that I say that up front. What I see is a very carefully struck balance between a private land open to the public for the very purposes that partially we're here to protect, and that is to enjoy the outdoors, but to do that in a responsible way. The other part of that is there's a historic and long-running use of this area in a way that we wouldn't allow it today, but it's been going on for, well, more than decades, perhaps a century. And but beyond that, they're looking to change the way they use that area, and they're offering some sort of enhancements in exchange for those. So that's what I'm looking at here, is to try to find a way that the applicant's proposing for us to strike that balance. And I've seen some of the drawings, and I've read some of the narrative, and I think the generalized comments, but I don't have enough information, so I'm hoping to hear that as they make their presentation. So I'm all set. Other than that.
Thank you, Joe. Al?
And to follow up on what Joe's talking about, saying I've known the property for many years, as we all have, and this is a property that up until I think it still may be. It's been under agricultural current use for basically as long as I've been around here and seen it. Between harvesting of hay and keeping of livestock, which was at the last meeting they talked about getting rid of the old silage trench. That was for the cow herd that lived there for many years, and so it's always been an ongoing agricultural enterprise, and so it may be slightly changing its use, but not completely. So I guess we have to bear that in mind too as we go along and listen to the testimony. So that's all I have for right now.
Okay, thank you, Al. I just have a few comments. I'm kind of old school, and I kind of like historical things. I have an issue with dredging the isolated wetland to make a pond. That's going to be a hard sell for me. Also, there's a existing wet meadow. I'm going by the narrative, and they said they were going to strip the wet meadow. It has wildlife living in it, and construct a new wet meadow with different type of vegetation. Well, if the wet meadow was working, like I say, old school, I think we should leave it alone. But those are my concerns. Some of the other stuff is out of buffer. I don't have a problem with the regraveling the roadway or the little hut for their tractor or their compost piles. I think they're making an effort for that, or that area they want to groom to make a cutting area, because that's pretty much what that place does, is do flowers and walks and stuff like that. But I know it's going to improve the wetlands according to them and according to some of the people, but I just have an issue with new is not always better. Thank you. Jack?
Yeah, just to echo some of the prior comments, I too would like to hear a little bit more detail on the proposal. Your sentiments are important, Lou. You know, I don't want to say that. I think we should retain, you know, the natural conditions as best we can as we go forward with this, and lose our environmental focus in lieu of a commercial focus. But I did have a question about the isolated wetland. It looks quite large on the plans, but I just wanted to know, is it in fact jurisdictional by the state, or is it only jurisdictional on the bylaw?
Jurisdictional under the bylaw only.
Bylaw only. Okay, so it isn't as big as it looks. All right. Thank you. That's all I have for now.
Thank you, Jack. Sean?
So, Jack, I'm sorry, just so I have some clarity. You're asking whether it's isolated land subject to flooding? Is that what you?
Isolated vegetated wetland.
Right. And what would make it jurisdictional under the state is whether it met the definition of isolated land subject to flooding. So I don't think so, but.
Isn't it the size of the, yeah. Isn't it like 5,000 square feet versus our bylaw says 1,000 square feet?
It's like acre feet for isolated land subject to flooding under the act, but
so at this
feet under the
bylaw. At this point, we think it's only jurisdictional under the bylaw.
Correct, but we can we can confirm that with the consultant.
Yep.
Sean?
I agree with a lot of the sentiment I've heard already. I think this is a change of use of the property to a certain extent. And if somebody is interested in me waiving the buffer zones, they'll have to convince me to do so on each and every location they want to do that. And that's all I have.
Are you all set, Sean?
Could you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I did. I did.
Okay, yeah,
you all set?
that's all I have. Yeah.
Okay. So now, any more questions? Not yet. We'll hear from the consultant now, if we can.
Yeah. So whoever wants to speak on behalf of the applicant can do so.
Sure. Hello. Thank you. This is Evan Vendran from DeRosa Environmental. You're representing the trustees of reservation. Also on the line is Will Shuka from the Moore and Cameron Group and Josh Hackensack from the trustees. As Amy said, it's kind of a multifaceted project. We're making improvements to the existing maintenance area, as well as enhancing and restoring the isolated vegetated wetland on site. A couple of questions I heard the commission just ask in regards to changing the isolated vegetated wetland and the pond. Right now, the current conditions of the pond is almost entirely cattail. And it is just not functioning as an open water habitat, which would improve the value of the resource area. And that goes for the wet meadow as well, which is not as diverse as it could be. There's some invasive species in there. And what we want to do is we'll transplant some of the native species in that area back into the wet meadow to improve the habitat as well. So we're not just grabbing the entire wet meadow and losing all of the native species. We'll transplant them, and also the seeds that are within there will come back as well. So those are two questions that I hope I was able to answer. I can talk a little bit more about each of the project elements. Do you want me to do that?
I'm interested. This is Al Manzi speaking. I'm interested in hearing about your basis for your waiver requests.
Sure. So the waiver request is for the isolated vegetated wetland itself, because that is protected under the North Andover bylaw. And the waiver requests, because it's enhance and restore the isolated vegetated wetland, and we're not adversely impacting it. That's the reason why we're asking to waive the activities, as well as for the public use.
Have you completed an alternatives analysis on the area where you want the waiver to be considered?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Have you completed an alternatives analysis report, which is pretty much a standard document to accompany a request for a waiver? An alternatives analysis is, do you have a viable and feasible alternative to the activities that you're proposing that would not require a waiver? Normally that's required. We require that of every applicant that asks for any kind of waiver. If you haven't done that, maybe that's something that you should do before we close and decide on this.
They have included the waiver worksheet in their application material.
They have or haven't?
They have.
So did the waiver worksheet include an alternatives analysis?
Does this include in this, Amy, the stuff that was dropped off at our house?
No, it was part of the notice of intent that was
Okay.
part of the original electronic file.
Amy, I don't want to be a stickler, but I guess I will be. An alternatives analysis is something that we normally require 100% of the time for requests for waivers.
Okay.
So because of our activities are strictly to enhance and restore the area, the only alternative, there's no other location because it's directly involved with the pond and the isolated vegetated wetland itself, particularly in providing ecological services for wildlife habitat. And because the current conditions are lawn, it's an improvement. So the only alternative kind of would be to do nothing and not improve the area and keep it as lawn and a pond that's inundated with cattails that don't help hydrology or the value of the area.
So I understand what you're saying, and doing nothing is an alternative. I can only speak for myself. I think I'd like to go on the property and actually see it. I'm having a hard time envisioning what they're asking for, and I don't have, in spite of how nice the plans are, and they are excellent, I think I really need to see it on the ground. I'm just speaking for myself, but.
Amy and I discussed that today, and I think it's under her remarks that we should conduct a site review because it has so many different factors going into this application.
Yeah.
I think we should schedule a.
And now that you're saying it, Lou, as you're speaking, I'm scrolling down the page and I'm seeing that Amy recommends that. I didn't see that before I spoke, so I feel better now. Anyway, I'll make myself available to go on a site walk at any time. I would like to do that before I personally make any other decision on this.
I think it would be beneficial for the commission as well. I think we would definitely welcome a site walk.
Thank you very much. I'm all set, Mr. Chairman. I'll withhold any other questions I have pending my ability to get on the ground and take a look.
Okay. Jack, do you have any more questions?
I do not.
Sean, do you?
No. But just looking at the plan, I mean, I see the contour lines get really close towards the, I guess, as I look at the plan, the southwestern corner of that wetland. But I do agree, it is a big wetland. There's a lot going on there. I like the idea of enhancing it, but I also know you're trying to encroach on it a little bit with some of the hardscape out there. So yeah, I think a site visit would make sense too.
Okay, thank you. I know. Amy, did the commission get to look at the abutter letter, or that was just something separate?
I had.
I saw that.
my response. So there were two abutters that I responded to. Let me just quickly go through that. Kelly Cormier and Susan Rochford. So, of course, their concerns were broad, and not all of them pertain to the Conservation Commission jurisdiction, but I answered what I could in terms of what did apply to us. And, their concerns are about drainage and flooding and disruption of the existing habitat that we have, and expanding and water flow changes to the interruption to existing water flow and things like that. And so I responded, that I basically reiterated what they were the trustees is aiming to do and what their project purpose was, without, I can't make qualitative or quantitative evaluation as to, whether the issues that they have are, are going to be worse or better. So, and I did impress upon them that the commission would want to take a site visit because it is multifaceted. So.
Okay, thank you. I'd just like to interject one more thing to the applicant. Some on the commission expressed that there was possibility of huge change. Mr. Manzi said that it was agriculture for a couple hundred years. I have two questions. One, are you tax exempt? And two, I hope that this project isn't money driven, because this commission is strictly interested in wetlands protection, and money driven is not going to be a factor in our decisions, I would think. I just want to make a point of that, because and I hope the abutters can hear that, because I want everybody protected and everybody treated equally.
I think we can accomplish that mission, Lou, with the adequate information. I think once we get our site visit done and we get our questions answered on the ground, I have great confidence that the commission can exactly follow what you just talked about.
Okay, thank you, Al. All right, so we need to continue to what?
Joe, I got a question.
Yes.
Just so we can keep moving forward in the hearing process while we schedule a site walk, I think one of the things that I don't see in the submitted information is any hydrologic analysis of comparing what's there now versus what they're proposing to do, and how it affects how much water gets to what location and how it's retained. And some of the things that are our jurisdiction that the abutters have historically been concerned with in their neighborhood, I don't see any supporting documentation on that, unless I just haven't seen it yet. So I think at the very least, I'm probably asking that the applicant, start thinking about doing a hydraulic analysis, and so we can quantify what impacts there are or there aren't, period. And then really diving into better polished written presentation, not so much an alternatives analysis, because that almost doesn't apply. But if we were ever to consider true resource area enhancements, they've got to be driven on the science more than the aesthetic, or as much as the aesthetic. And I'm not necessarily seeing a spelled out, quantified tit for tat trade-off of this is what was there and this is the condition of what's there, and with regards to the isolated land subject to flooding, and this is what we're proposing to do with the meadow, and this is the species that are there, and this is how we're looking to enhance it moving forward. I think spelled right out, and unless I haven't seen that yet, and that's one of the complexities of working from home on these email documents is to delve right into them. But those sorts of things I think we're going to need to see as this discussion moves on towards ultimate conclusion.
Agreed, 100%.
Okay.
And absolutely, site walk. Actually, I tried to convince my family to take a site walk up there on Sunday, but it was too damn hot.
I think we won't have that problem anymore for a while.
Probably not. So I'm open to that, of course.
Okay. All right. So Amy, you schedule this meeting site walk.
Sure. So I'll round robin email with everyone to figure out what works.
Excellent.
Okay.
Excellent. That'll work.
All right. So we're going to continue this application for 2 weeks anyways, right?
Yeah.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? And that's unanimous. And I hope the applicant heard Mr. Lynch's presentation because it was on point, and I think it goes a long way for this application. Thank you.
Yes, we heard it. Thank you. We'll prepare something, and I think the site visit will also clear a lot of those questions up for you as well.
Great.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. All right, next one. 242-1783, Brook School.
School. All right. So this notice of intent is submitted for basically south entrance relocation and associated work. So work within jurisdiction involves removal of the existing south entrance paved access drive and the associated spur driveway that serves the Dearborn House, and restoring these footprints to lawn and meadow, constructing a rain garden at the intersection of the south entrance that is removed. Hey, Anthony, I think you've got really some background noise going. Thanks. Sorry. Let's see. I'm sorry. Constructing a rain garden at the intersection of this south entrance to be removed and Great Pond Road to mitigate some roadway runoff. Work will be in the 25-foot no disturb zone and 50-foot no build, and they've provided a waiver request for these activities. This wetland system has been reviewed under a recent order of resource area delineation. So this was part of when we walked it back in, I think it was August, September last year. The other part of this is creating a new south entrance that partially utilizes the driveway that services 1116 Great Pond Road, which was a single-family house that the Brooks School recently purchased. Work is outside the 25 and the 50-foot for this new entrance at the mouth of Great Pond Road. The new spur driveway will service the Bigelow House. The driveway for Bigelow House coming off of Great Pond Road will be removed as well, but this is just outside the 100-foot buffer zone. Stormwater for this new entrance roadway will be handled by a swale to a catch basin and a water quality unit, and will discharge by pipe and riprap velocity reducer that is positioned just inside the 50-foot no build zone. And the riprap location works with the existing contours. And per their waiver request, relocating this discharge point outside of the 50 would entail more land disturbance in the buffer zone and the watershed zones. This wetland was not part of the ORAD, so I walked this line and found it to be reasonable. Parts of this wetland have been subject to historic mowing, so this practice would probably have to cease under the order of conditions. The planning board has held its first public hearing and a site inspection for this project, and has engaged Horsley Witten to provide peer review stormwater. So there's been one round of peer review and one round of response by the applicant. So that's it in a nutshell. We have applicant representatives here this evening, and we can go from there.
Okay. Is he there?
So
I'm here.
okay.
No, the applicant is supposed to give us a little bit
Sure.
of narrative.
Okay.
Yep, sorry about that. I didn't know, Mr. Chairman, if you wanted me to speak yet or not. But I can do so. My name is Anthony Cleaves. I'm with Whitman and Bingham Associates, civil engineer for the design team. We submitted about a 10-page little slide for reference for discussion for tonight. I think Amy did a great job actually surmising the project. So if you'd like, we can jump right to slide 5, which kind of shows the proposed improvements. If you'd like to take a look at that specifically and go over where we're looking at, or I can give you an overview of everything.
Unfortunately for us, we can't see it.
Okay.
My question.
Emailed it to you guys, but understood.
My
Sure.
question is, have you addressed? I'm going through the application right now. Have you gone through address any of Horsley Whitland's questions?
Yes. So we did a response letter back to Horsley Witten Group, and so we responded to all of their questions and got that back to them. We haven't received a response back from them yet. I did reach out to their reviewer, and they are getting into it, but still going through the re-review of the responses. So we haven't gotten a final letter back from them yet, but we did respond to all of their comments.
Okay. Have you met? Gone in front of planning board yet?
Yes. Yep. We were before the planning board with one meeting so far, and we've also had a site walk with some of the planning board members as well. So we have gone through one round with them, and we've been through TRC meeting as well, and we've been trying to address some of their comments as we go through the process.
Okay. There's a lot of verbiage here. I'll listen to the commission. I appreciate you opening up. There's a lot of questions from Horson Witten, and we have some of your responses. And we don't approve anything anyways before planning anyways. But I will defer some questions to commission if they have any, because we're definitely going to have to continue this. And there's no sense in spending all night on this until we get the answers from Horson Witten and your responses to them.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I'm sorry to interrupt. We did submit the responses to them. We feel as though we covered adequately, for that. But yes, I agree that we still need for them to come back on that. I think unfortunately a lot of the questions stemmed from it's a very confusing overall project, because they had to review not just the south entrance, but other parts of this project that are outside the buffer zone. So it definitely becomes a very confusing project. And I think some of the drainage studies and everything building off of previous projects, which you worked with previous reviewers on, it was, I think, new to the recent reviewer to get familiar with the campus and the designs you've been doing thus far. So I think hopefully a lot of that will be fleshed out with the responses that we did.
Okay. Let me, it's going to be high. I'm just going for this now. So,
yeah, I mean, if
so
you like, I can do a brief overview real quick with some things on the buffer zone, if that's helpful.
Well, let's see if just real quick, if the commission has any questions. Joe, do you have any questions so far?
I've been trying to extract the zip files for the permit set, and I've had no luck doing that. So I even getting an overview without putting it in context of looking at particular sheets or the areas that are jurisdictional or not, it's just going to be impossible to envision that. They were attached to Amy, but and they're there. I can see them in PDFs, but they're in a .zip format.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And in using the open with commands, I've tried 3 of the different suggested extractors, and they're not opening with it.
I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, I certainly would give them a few minutes, 5 minutes or so to give us an overview, but, I've kind of gotten that by looking at the documents that I could open.
Mm-hmm.
But I think to lessen the confusion, I think we need to know specifically what parts are jurisdictional on this much bigger project, which parts are jurisdictional to us, and how is it they're looking to address minimizing or eliminating impacts from those areas. And unfortunately, I just don't have the ability to open those plans just yet.
Okay. Al, any questions?
No, I'm more interested in just waiting for the peer review comments, the final review comments, and the planning board decision. I don't think it would be productive to dive into it right now. I would rather wait for the final documents and concentrate my efforts at that time.
I agree. Jack, excuse me.
Yeah, my thoughts are very much in parallel with Al's. It looks like a stormwater project to me, and that's in progress. And once we get the final design done and see how it looks on paper, I think we have a good background at this point. So nothing else.
Thank you. Sean?
No questions at this point. Thank you, though.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question for Jack and Sean, and
Yep.
Al. Were you guys able to open the files?
I have it open right now. Yeah.
Oh.
I have parts. I shouldn't say there's a lot to it, but I do have the application open with the plans attached to it and the diagrams, drawings.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I had I was just looking at the presentation that I think the applicant was referring to, slides.
Yep.
Yeah, anyway.
All right.
What was that presentation, Jack? Is that a recent email? Or are you watching that online?
No, that's email.
Today at 10:15 a.m.
And even though I am looking at it, if I could just ask the applicant or Amy, so if the school's on your right, is the south entrance the first or the second?
Oh.
It's the second.
The second. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Because only one of them has a white fence there, right?
There's a picture of it in that presentation file.
Yeah, I saw it with the white fence, and I thought it was only the second one on the right that had the white fence. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. The second one is actually, Sean, is an existing driveway to a house they just purchased.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, I see
all
that
right,
in the picture.
Okay. I don't mean to be rude. I didn't catch your name, but it seems to be the commission's thoughts that they're going to wait for the planning board and the peer review final answers to the questions that they propose. So I think it'd be in your best interest to continue to the next meeting.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I mean, if there is anything, they wanted to discuss tonight, obviously we're prepared to do that. If you want me to help with understanding it, that's fine. I can do that. But if we want to wait, I understand that. One thing I do want to mention is if the commission would like to do a site walk, due to the current COVID crisis, the school is basically closed campus. They started closed campus this week. So to try and, basically restrict any movement in or out of students, faculty, anybody. But if you'd like to do a site walk, I think we could still get out there this week to do that and just stay on this part of campus. I think that would be fine, but I'm not sure past this week if they're going to allow any visitors at all. So if you'd like to do a site walk, we could try and do it this week. We can just reach out and we can contact the school and try and set that up if that will be helpful for you.
Yeah, it would be, it's kind of tough. It would be difficult this week because tomorrow's it's supposed to rain. Friday, I don't know. I can't make Friday. So I know the commission is always looking forward for site walks, but we can ask them and see if they could do one. I don't think they could do one this week, but Joe, could you make one this week?
Well, if you can't do it Friday, that leaves tomorrow, and it's not going to be good weather tomorrow.
Right. So Al?
But I could probably do it on Friday.
Friday. Joe, Al?
No, I can't. I wouldn't be available before the end of the weekend. I'm not available Thursday, Friday, or Saturday.
I understand. Very good. Jack?
Yeah, the only time I'm available is tomorrow during the day, and I will be away all next week.
Yeah.
Okay. Sean?
I mean, first of all, I know the applicant brought it up, and maybe it's because he's been on this call. We usually don't do site walks. It's just unusual. It came up twice in one meeting. And looking at what's proposed, I don't think I need to see a site walk. So unless the applicant thinks that the commission should get out there to see it, this doesn't strike me as something that I personally need to see at this point, at least.
Okay, thank you.
I would agree with you, Sean. This doesn't strike me as something that's highly controversial.
Yeah, I agree.
Right.
And the reason the planning board did a site visit because there's so much more going on, in their jurisdiction. So
Sure. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, so what we do is you don't think we're going to have the answers from Horsley and Witten soon, right? Till next meeting, you think? Amy?
Do you have a feel for when Horsley Witten will get back?
I spoke with or emailed the reviewer, and they expected to get more into it end of this week, beginning of next. I'm hoping very soon, but I don't want to speak for them. We didn't talk about an exact timeline, except that they were getting into it. So I don't want to speak on behalf. I'm hopeful that it is very soon, and hopefully by the next planning board meeting is actually coming up next week. So hopefully by your next meeting, absolutely.
All right, so you'll be comfortable continuing till the next meeting?
If we could do that, I would appreciate that. And if for some chance the information isn't through yet, I guess we can discuss it at that time. But I would very much appreciate to be continued to the next meeting.
Okay, very good. Motion?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Just for the record, mea culpa. I was able to open up that file, and I've been able to look at that presentation. So, Amy, you don't need to follow up on anything. I have it.
Okay, good. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Hey, and that's unanimous. So we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Great. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Anthony.
Thank you. Okay. Enforcement order 1470 Forest Street Extension. They requested continue till September 9th.
Yeah, we're
So moved.
had time to.
Second.
So
Okay. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? And that's unanimous. I didn't mean to cut you off, Amy. I know this is a contentious
it's all right.
project, so
No, that's
but
fine.
we'll worry about it September 9th.
Okay.
All right. Next one, I'm going to have to recuse myself. 242-1692, 1210 Osgood Street. Mr. Manager, would you please take the gavel?
I will. Thank you. I'm going to go right to Amy. This is before us at the initiation of our administrator. So I would like her to make her presentation and explain why we're here.
Okay. All right. So the commission will recall issuing an enforcement order that allows for the installation of the interceptor trench, groundwater treatment system, and associated appurtenances. So that was almost a year ago. A permanent treated water discharge outlet pipe was part of that plan. And admittedly, that outlet pipe wasn't necessarily scrutinized at that time. The system has been running for close to a year now, and the discharge pipe has been operating and discharging clean treated water to a small riprap outlet area. The downstream erosion controls currently consist of a combination of hay bale, silt fence, and mulch stock, and they've been in place for quite some time. Water discharge has created its own path through these erosion controls, and there is some sediment buildup against these erosion controls. So there's a fair amount of sediment that is held back by all of this erosion control system. I've been looking at this area, every time I go on site, and I've been on multiple times, and I think either I said it to myself or I'm pretty sure I expressed it to the applicant principals that I really felt that this kind of needs to be looked at again, because once we remove these sediment and erosion control measures, we're going to have a fairly significant load of sediment that's just going to travel right down into the wetland. And then from there, the discharge from the pipe is going to, reestablish itself, and more erosion will happen through that process. So I had asked them to come up with a proposal to address, my concerns that long term we need something that's more stable for the water discharge to be carried out into the wetland. So part of our review was walking the site with Greg Hockmith, our erosion control monitor, and he was in agreement with sort of getting something together to address this concern. The other part of our site walks lately have been related to removal of site perimeter erosion controls now that things are starting to really be stabilized. And we pretty much walked the entire erosion control line and prescribed specific protocol for either removing sock and silt fence, or removing sock and raking out, the shelf of sediment that's been built up against socks and hay bales. And there's some areas that erosion control can completely come out because it's so stabilized, and there's no risk of sediment erosion from these areas. So with that, the other thing that Chairman Manzi asked for is a quantification of the gallons per minute that the treatment system can experience. And I did forward that to you this afternoon, but I can read that if you want me to. So they have submitted a proposal to start removing the erosion controls, and this is handwork, removing the sediment loads and establishing a riprap swale, so to speak, to handle the flows and be more stable water flow course for this area. So that's that in a nutshell. And we do have project representatives this evening.
Okay, so and just to follow up, did everybody get the gallons per minute rate additional email that was sent out? Did you all get that?
Yes.
Okay, so everybody's got the numbers. I thought the numbers were important to be able to consider their request, And so with that, there's no reason for me to repeat anything that was said. We'll just go right to the commission. Joe, any questions or comments?
No, I think for the first time in a long time on this project, I think we're starting to see a horizon looming that's going to be a reasonable conclusion here. Erosion controls are always intended to be maintained, and part of that maintenance is to make sure things don't accumulate, or if they do, to maybe fortify them or modify them. So, I think the observation that Greg and Amy and the members of the construction team have noticed is a valid one. And, I'm going to leave it to the experts who are on the site on a pretty regular basis to make sure that, as we gravitate towards conclusion, that, we're continuing to protect things that we need to protect, but we're also continuing to maintain things that still need to be in place. And I think that's what I heard in the general presentation. If that's the case, then I support it completely.
Okay. And you happy with the numbers on the GPMs?
Happy, not happy. I mean, the reality is, we know it when it's not raining or when it's low flows, it functions negligibly or not at all. And when it's called into action, it needs to work. Now, the question becomes, and I guess that's what was silent in the discussion or in the letter, is when it is flowing at that, what's the number? Is it 200 gallons per minute max?
That's their max, yeah. They report they haven't hit that yet.
Right, they haven't hit that yet, but they've come near it, maybe 75% of that. But I guess the question that hasn't been stated, at least not clear to me anyway, is that so when that flow is realized, what levels of protection do we need to have there forever? And do we know what that is? I mean, on those on that high discharge in a concentrated location, do we have concern for erosion potential down the line? Do we need to riprap it? Do we need to put some sort of control structure on that outlet side? Those types of things I didn't. I'm sure they're on the table, but I haven't heard discussed yet.
Okay. All right. Jack.
Yeah, I think what we're trying to do is stabilize a situation that is not stable right now, and it's been suggested that it be addressed a specific way, with some sidewalks with Amy and Greg Hochmuth. And I don't know if that's the right solution or not, but my question at this point is that proposed solution, is it being proposed by the applicant, or is it being proposed by us?
Go ahead, Amy. Go ahead.
It's proposed by the applicant, but we sort of talked through on site kind of what would this look like and what makes sense.
Okay, it's just a simple question because if it's proposed by the applicant, and with our expertise, we say, yeah, it looks like it's a good design for what we're trying to accomplish. Great, and we should, I believe, we should amend the EO to do that. But if it doesn't work, it was still proposed by the applicant, and if there's still further sedimentation that doesn't comply with the order of conditions, we can still offer another EO in case it doesn't work.
Yes.
And that's really all I'm looking at.
Okay, very good. Sean.
I don't have anything to add beyond what Jack and Joe have already discussed, so nothing further from me.
So the only thing that I would just I spoke to Amy earlier today, and I said, assuming that the commission approves the proposal, the amendment or the proposal, whatever this is described as,
amend the enforcement order.
Okay, so provided that the commission chooses to approve the amendment and amend the enforcement order, my only request, once I got the numbers for the gallons per minute of flow, my only request is that when this work is being done, that Greg Hockmuth or his representative are on site for the entire work, all day, every day, until that work is completed. I don't want to take any chances with something going wrong. I trust in our monitor, so that was my only recommendation. They stay right there and supervise it, if you will.
Mhm.
And other than that, I didn't have anything else. I have no problem with the proposal. So I guess with that, what I would need is a motion to adopt the amendment as described.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Is there anything you want added, Amy, at this time?
No, I think that's the condition I would have placed, that Greg or his rep and or me be on site during work the entire time.
Okay, very good. So, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And I hear none. That's unanimous. So it is unanimous, Amy.
Okay, great.
All right. Thank you all. We get
Thank
Lou
you.
back. I'll give him back to Hammer.
Thank you, Mr. Mancy.
All right, thank you, Lou.
Next order of business is general new old business, Lake Chickwauk watershed study.
Okay, so I just wanted to give you an update on just FYI, strictly FYI, that on the planning board's request, I participated in a conference call with DPW director and town engineer Peter Boynton, who is on the planning board, and Jean Enright, to talk about raw water lake testing and how that's been going. And what came out of that meeting is that, yes, that testing's being done, but it's not necessarily being packaged in a very accessible manner. So the DBW agreed that they're going to be hiring an intern to take all of that testing results and download it into a database, so it's accessible and readable and searchable. So they are in the midst of searching out for interns, so that's happening. The other element is that the community development department was able to propose in their budget allowance for an update to our watershed study, watershed plan, which was last updated in 1987. So it's pretty old. So, the ComDev department has put out a request for a proposal and put it out to 4 firms. So we're waiting back, and the deadline for the quotes is September 8th. So I just wanted to let you know that those things are in motion, and I will keep you abreast as we get more information.
Excellent.
If you have questions, but that's all I got right now. But I just want to make sure you guys are in the know.
Thank you, Amy.
Yep.
Any questions? We have none, so we'll go. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I said none. Sorry.
Okay. So we'll move on to decisions.
Okay.
242-1788, 15 Cabbage Chase Road.
Okay. So everybody has that, right?
I'm looking for it.
Glasses. So I've just provided a project site permit history just to establish the fact that we have a 20-foot no-cut zone and a 32-foot no-build zone from 1992 that was approved. That the house was damaged by fire in April of this year. Emergency certification issued to allow for the demolition of the building only, and a notice of intent for reconstruction.
Isn't the building already gone?
It's gone. Yep.
So this is a reconstruction, Amy?
Reconstruction on the existing foundation.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the foundation is original and the house is from the foundation up.
Exactly. Yeah.
Have you guys been by this site, or did you see on the news this enormous house that caught on fire?
I have to admit I have not been by it.
Yeah,
I was by.
Yeah, it's big. Yeah, it's got to be 8,000 square foot. I don't know what you call it, Tudor / mansion house.
Yeah.
It was all over the news one day.
Yeah, burned good.
I guess the only question that I have, I'll go right to my question, is condition number 39. Why is that so low?
Well, I guess because they're really not doing any earthwork. This is simply stick work. Like they're just gonna build a house, and
so there's no erosion controls or anything going on?
No. The erosion controls are in place.
Okay.
So the existing erosion controls, consisting of entrenched silt fence and stake straw wattles, as shown in the plans, are currently installed. They're in good shape, and that's.
They were installed after the fire, Al.
Yeah, no. The reason I'm asking is it's just what's going through my mind right now is we were having a conversation earlier about another project that we're going to be taking enforcement action on, and I know what the bond is on that project, and I'm starting to wonder if we shouldn't revisit and reconsider our bonding, because I think it's all a little bit antiquated with respect to if we have to seize it, if we have to do something. So
I've been for a long time.
Yeah. So anyway, that's I guess when I just noticed this one. I mean that's usually what we secure for a garage.
Okay.
So anyway, I'm just asking if everybody else is happy with it. I'm not gonna make a fight over it. I'm just putting it out there. I guess we have to talk about it at some point. So.
Well, I agree. Even though there's no physical excavation for a cellar hole or whatnot, there's going to be movement about the perimeter. From what I hear, it's a huge house. From the photographs we saw early on, it is a huge perimeter. There's going to be tenders. It's not going to be just laborers hoofing lumber around. There's going to be heavy equipment in there, erecting this building, and erosion controls are adequate until they fail. And I think we're coming into a season when you might see some hurricanes and you might see potential for. I think 3,000 as a starting point is fair on this one.
Okay, and I agree. And this, Amy, this just follows up with what you and I started to talk about.
You're right, now that I think about it.
Yeah.
You're right. Yep.
Anybody else agree, disagree? Or?
Oh, just a comment, Al. I think our past practice has been to hold a bond of 3,000 for a single family home. But I agree with you. We probably need to revisit that. Our practices, make them more current with current day costs. So in that line, I think I agree with you and Joe.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no, I've been saying that right along. I tend to agree with Al when Al says money makes compliance, and I think that's a pretty good analogy. This one I'm indifferent on because I've been out to the site but I agree with Joe. It's not just a bunch of guys on a scaffolding building a house. So I agree with increasing the bond.
Okay, you got one more guy you got one more commissioner to weigh in, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Yeah, well, it doesn't take much to talk me into adding more money to a bond. So, especially when you're talking about a house this size and the amount of construction costs involved, I don't think it's going to break the bank.
As soon as I heard 8,000 square feet, I said, okay, that's an awful lot of water being displaced, and that's an awful lot of ground disturbance and everything else. So, all right, so can we make it 3,000?
Yep.
Sure.
I would agree with that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I have nothing else.
Okay. Any other questions on this decision? If not, we'll enter. What's that?
Is monthly, Maureen Harold had asked if you could consider a monthly erosion control monitoring as opposed to weekly, or less than weekly, she said. So not monthly.
If it'll help the commission at all, everything is well established. I'm not usually one for forgiveness, but I think once a month would be good for this, unless we had an unusual heavy rainstorm.
Zach, I think we see the second piece of that same order, same condition is the half-inch rain event over 24 hours. That should stay in place, and it looks like you're proposing to leave it in place. Yeah. So monthly on a regular basis, but if we do get some heavy rains in September, like we're inclined to, she needs to report how the site held up during that event.
I agree. I agree.
One thing I'd like to
we leave that in.
Make sure my memory's correct on, is this the house that's like within 50 feet of a wetland?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, this house is within 50 feet of a wetland. It's 8,000 square feet. I'm okay, and I don't want to go against the flow, but if we could just stick with weekly monitoring for something that close. And no, Lou, I know you went out there and saw it as well, and I didn't take that close of a look, but just the distance alone, just makes me not want to a condition release or relent on a condition.
Yeah, I like I said, I have no problem. I just threw it out there. I'm always in agreement with the commission. So whatever you guys want to do, let's go for it.
Yeah.
We want to keep the soil. We want to keep the soil where it is, Lou.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
So we'll go once a week, Amy?
Is that what I'm hearing from you guys?
Yes. Yep, that's what they want.
Okay.
That's what I'm hearing.
All right, fine.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about it, so that's all they can ask for.
Good. All right, so we need if there are there any more questions? If not, then I'll entertain a motion.
Hold on. I'm sorry to do this, but I noticed condition number 59 is struck, and in bold it says dewatering should not be expected on this project. I appreciate that. What happens if there is a need for dewatering? We've struck the condition.
You're right. All right.
Yeah, leave it in for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, we never take should take safeguards out because you never know.
Okay.
Gotcha. I mean, if there's none expected and we leave it in, then we're all set. But if we strike, we'll never get it back. So.
Agreed.
And my last one. No, I'm all set. I was looking at number 71. I'm all set. I'll remain silent. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, need a motion? We're looking for a motion.
I move that we approve 2421788 as amended.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? And that's unanimous.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you. Next one is 242-1790 High Street.
Okay. This is
the
East Mill
the
Pond,
water treatment of the pond.
Amy, before we get into the order of conditions for this one, for East Mill Pond,
Yep.
have you received any information on E. coli monitoring data from the applicant?
other than what was already part of the monitoring protocol from the previous order, nothing new. And so as far, I talked to Tanya Hartford, and as far as the pipes that are inletting into the pond, I think we're pretty much certain that these outlets are town stormwater discharges. And so under the MS4 permit, the town is responsible for monitoring those outfalls and testing them. So it wouldn't be the applicant's responsibility to do those. Go ahead.
Yeah, I remember when we had the hearing, last hearing, we talked about, you know, the whole intent of this order is to impact water quality, and we at least wanted to get a baseline of the history that is known at the very least, and I think they were going to prepare a response to the recent spike in E. coli, you know, whether it be due to birds or something else. So I thought that's what they agreed to at the last meeting, and I'm just kind of following up with that.
Okay.
Amy, I would, I hate to interject. I would explain to Jack what we talked about today, about that they're going to keep monitoring it, but you know what we talked about as far as.
Right. So we can have them, I think it's not unreasonable to ask them to repackage previous monitoring from the previous order of conditions. And in my discussion with Tanya, she was concerned that RCG would be held responsible for something that happens in the greater watershed. And I understand that. So I proposed a condition that required them to, continue monitoring E. coli as before. And if spikes or multiple spikes or continued rise in levels be detected, then that's when we haul them back in for another conversation about, well, what's going on? I mean, obviously we can't make them, responsible for a whole watershed, but we can re-examine what's happening on their campus. But I don't know.
Okay, are they going to report water quality results to the commission as a condition of this order?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, will E. coli be a part of that?
Yes.
Okay.
We can definitely
Yeah.
add that as a condition just in case, just belt and suspenders.
Okay. All right.
Doesn't condition 39 address that? Amy, this final report shall identify spikes of any measurable continued raise in E. coli levels. Should the data warrant it, a further discussion regarding E. coli.
Yeah.
You think you already have it in here?
Yeah, I forget which.
Well, what condition is that?
39.
39?
39?
Yes. Well, my pages are kind of screwed up. I only go as high as 42.
What? No way.
Actually, the 39 was a condition that was we wanted right from the start. We wanted baseline testing.
So do we want to put that back in? I just wondered because this isn't.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I just want to make sure we have it because it is a current concern.
and that's something every meeting we ask for. We always talk about baseline testing because we can never know where we are without it. So I wouldn't strike it.
Okay.
I apologize. I wasn't at the last meeting, but I think it's an essential element. And I'm kind of getting mixed signals here that they're concerned that if something's discovered, they might be held responsible. But on the same token, it's looking like we are in fact requiring to at least report it. So
Yeah.
you know, how do you report it, discover it? So are they? I guess Jack's question is legit. You know, are they doing it or are they not?
Yes.
And regardless of the outcome of who the responsible party is, somebody's got to be doing it, whether it's the town or this applicant. And
yeah, and this is their operation now. So you know, are they responsible? Well, sorta.
So just so you know, they have been testing for E. coli all along.
Okay.
Okay, so that's been part of the protocol from the previous order. So that's not going to change.
Okay. I think we still. I think we leave 39 in.
Yeah.
And we've always. I think we have a history of being reasonable with them. I don't think they can expect us to change that now.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
So we can't hold them responsible for where the Dr. Geese like to do their thing.
Well, I don't think we should discuss responsibility here. I think we should just discuss what we want them to do in the order of conditions, and then let the chips fall where they may down the road.
Exactly.
I mean, that's not within our purview right now to say who's responsible and who's not. We just tell them what they need to do.
Right.
And that's what we should be doing.
Yeah, that's all we want to accomplish.
Yeah, we're just going to give them follow exactly what this is. It's an order of conditions. These are the conditions. Operate under this order, and we can deal with the rest of it as it comes up. That's the way I see it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's plenty for verbiage. I think that's good.
And it's pretty reasonable too.
Mm-hmm. All right. Is there any more questions?
On page 2, it looks like the bullets, or it looks like the numbering goes a little crazy. Are those supposed to be bullets or something?
Above?
You're going back to page 2, Jack?
Page number 2.
Okay, hold on. I'm getting back to it.
Condition 23 says failure to comply. And then after condition 23, there's a couple pages where the numbers are all number 1 or number 2.
Mine don't do that, Jack. Mine are properly loaded.
Maybe I don't have the latest.
I don't have that either. Mine goes in order.
Okay.
No, mine only goes to 42, and it says, I get the paper stuff, and it says,
happened.
And yeah, it says, on your pipe point, coli is admittedly a watershed issue, but condition 64 speaks to it. I don't have 64.
I'm sorry.
I have 64. It says the final report shall identify spikes in any measurable continued raises E. coli levels. So 64 talks about the E. coli.
Maybe I have the wrong version. I took it from the email dated August 24th.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have the same one. You have the same one, Jack. Maybe unless there's something with your unless you're Microsoft Word or whatever you're using to open it.
That's probably what it is because it's Microsoft Word. I've got the Chrome operating system, so it's a knockoff. It's a knockoff.
Yeah,
I do.
You got to buy the real deal, kid.
Yeah, I have it on my other computer. This is more convenient to use. But, okay, I got it.
You just paid the price of convenience. So yeah, 64 is exactly what you were talking about, Jack. It says that this final report shall identify spikes or any measure will continue to raise E. coli levels. Data warrant if further discussion E. coli input sources emanating from the project campus shall be initiated with the commission. So
Yeah.
it says if you find it, we have to talk about it,
Yeah.
which I would expect, right?
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Any more questions? We need a motion.
I move that we issue the order of conditions for 242-1790 as drafted.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? And that's unanimous. And last but not least, 242-1793, 101 Forster Street.
Yeah.
I'm looking for a Lou.
Sent on Monday at 5:10 p.m.
Sent on Monday?
Yep, 5:10
Okay.
p.m.
All right, let me see if I can. I'm going to take a
Actually,
shot.
I don't have one. Was it included with the hearing information?
Yes.
Yeah, that 5 p.m. one has two attachments,
Yeah.
and one of them is the.
Got it. Yep.
Yeah, me too. Got it. I'm open.
Good.
So I threw out $1,500 for a bond. I went off of, we did 130 Ray Street not too long ago for $1,500. That was a septic system replacement.
The scope of work is a septic system.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
I hope everybody else is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty standard.
Yeah.
This one's
No
pretty
question.
straightforward.
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Joe, do you have anything?
No, it looks pretty standard.
Okay. Jack?
No questions.
Sean?
No questions.
Motion.
Approve as drafted.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous.
Great.
Okay. And last, but we need a signature authorization.
Yes.
So moved.
3 permits issued tonight. Ow. Second?
Second.
Joe.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? That's unanimous.
So I got a question for you guys. Do you guys want to start getting paper copies of application material?
I don't mind getting them.
I don't need it. I think this is working well so far.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I guess I would say the same thing. I would. The only exception I would make is if it's a project that has a large amount of drawings that need it, I wouldn't mind getting the drawings. But other than that, I agree. It's working fine.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. And then just as a heads up for the next meeting, Amazon is going to be coming back in. They had to redesign the stormwater management system based on groundwater test pits. So we're going to be getting that.
Based on what?
their test pits.
The
Really?
groundwater is higher than what they thought.
You know, I mean, I'm sorry, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
I am just not surprised. Okay.
And I'm embarrassed because we beat them pretty hard to get the right answer, and
But we didn't. But see, what we didn't do.
I took it hook, line, and sinker. Went right for the bait.
We
Yeah.
didn't. We didn't order a third party peer review like on a project like that we would normally, because we, you know, for whatever reason we didn't.
Well, the stormwater was.
Huh?
The stormwater was peer reviewed.
But it was based on their numbers that they input the numbers in, right?
Yeah, right. No one pushed for test pits in the.
We didn't look for verification of the numbers. We accepted their numbers. And so this is, you know, you get what you get. So,
Right.
okay.
So just just wanted you to know it's coming.
Well, you know, and I appreciate that. And I'll tell you right now, I'm going to want everything to be cross-checked. And if it's not, it's going to have to be done.
Yes. Yep. Got it.
Because this is the one where we got that big encapsulated area of RCA that you know, we were also given assurances on.
So hopefully have all of you guys on board. And not missing a meeting.
So Amy, let me ask you, do we know the significance of this change? Is the water table in the RCA area, and should we be revisiting the requirement for them to rip it out? And by the way, how far has construction progressed, or demolition progressed?
I haven't gotten that far yet. I'll get the materials tomorrow, so I can't answer those questions right now. But demo hasn't started. They haven't bought the property yet, so.
Yeah, they haven't done anything yet, Joe.
Okay.
So, yep. But
They
anyway,
got a brand new excavator there, but that's all.
Listen, as long as everybody understands that it's not going to be a rubber stamp.
Gotcha. All right, I just wanted to give you the heads up. So.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Heads up right back at you, and thank you.
Yeah, you're gonna. I can't say, but there's gonna be another one that we're gonna find very interesting shortly. That's all I can say right now.
Okay.
You know, I got enough interesting in my life right now, but thanks, buddy.
Well, that's all I have.
All right.
All right.
So
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, and that's unanimous.